Good evening. Thanks for joining us on air and streaming on KARE 11 Plus. I'm Julie Nelson.
And I'm Kevin Holmes. Nearly a year after the lawmaker shootings, new documents reveal a time gap during the police response.
Lou Ragoose dug through the records and he joins us with what he discovered. Lou?
There is a third-party after-action report that's being prepared right now to investigate and evaluate the law enforcement response to the assassination. In the meantime, Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley defends his officer's decision not to enter the Hortman home after witnessing Mark Hortman being killed. Page after page of timestamps logging the police response to the non-fatal shootings of Senator John Hoffman's family and the assassination of Representative Melissa Hortman and her husband Mark. These documents help build a timeline of the response and raise questions that Brooklyn Park Police Chief Mark Bruley has begun to answer. 3:36 a.m., 1 hour and 30 minutes after the 911 call from Hope Hoffman reporting her parents were shot in Champlin by a man impersonating police, Brooklyn Park police officers outside the Hortman home witnessed the gunman, believed to be Vance Belter, shooting Mark Hortman. Chief Bruley has said the officers were proactively checking on Melissa.
He's like, I just thought to myself, like, we should just drive by your house.
And yesterday on WCCO radio, Bruley said that's who they initially thought they saw killed.
They immediately start approaching the house and realize that there's a downed person at the door. From the body-worn camera and from the interviews, they believed it was Melissa.
Bruley said the officers realized the victim was Mark after they pulled him from the house to start CPR. And at that point, Bruley said police didn't realize anyone else was shot because there was no more gunfire. They thought the gunman might still be inside, so they slowed down and waited to deploy a drone. The log says 31 minutes after the gunfire, the drone was up, and at 4:10 a.m., it spotted the body of Melissa and their dog. On Drive Time with DeRusha, Bruley answered the question why the officers didn't run into the house after Belter.
One of the things that officers always have to balance, once they got additional officers that arrived on scene, now they have to make the determination, are we going to make entry in this house?
Sure.
But one thing about when we make entry, we go to shooting calls all the time. We just don't make entry because there was a shot fired. Our presence can actually incite somebody. For example, what if Melissa was in there being held hostage, and now we just come bum rushing in there, and now her life is in jeopardy because of our actions?
Chief Bruley said he would have done the same thing his officers did in that situation. But just like the Star Tribune reported, I have spoken with law enforcement sources who disagree and believe the officers should have gone in. The after-action report will address those kinds of questions, and I checked with the Department of Public Safety, and they are hoping to have it finished early this summer. Julie.
So, Lou, I'm a little confused. They saw the first shooting, and then in the time that lapsed between, would it have made a difference? Do you think it could have saved Melissa's life had they entered that house?
So what Chief Bruley explained is that the gunfire was almost simultaneous, that Mark Hortman was shot and Melissa Hortman was immediately shot thereafter. The officers who were there didn't realize that more than one person had been shot within that. They only knew of one victim, which they witnessed with their own eyes, but there was no additional gunfire seconds later, for example, that would have been obvious to them that there was more than one person shot. It all happened very quickly.
All right. Thank you, Lou.